Here's your host, Alfredo.
Nakala, and there's news going on in NASCAR as Monster Energy will remain the title sponsor of NASCAR's Top Cup Series through 2019, as in an extension announced on Tuesday. Monster is not expected to come back after next year, as NASCAR will be reevaluating how it sells its sponsorship. The Monster contract with NASCAR is estimated to be worth $20 million annually. The energy drink company signed a 2-year deal in late 2016. The initial contract was an instant success for Monster, which saw Kurt Busch drive a car sponsored by Monster Energy to victory in the Daytona 500. The brand is a strong fit for NASCAR as the series tries to energize its fan base and appeal to a younger audience. And especially with what happened with the delays that Monster took to re-sign with NASCAR, but especially with the extension of the deadlines, that kind of had a sign that this was not going to end well, and the deal was not going to end up being well. And I personally didn't really like the fact that Monster signed a deal with NASCAR in the first place, not to be involved with the sport. That's fine. I understand why they're trying to get to a younger demographic. That makes total sense. It just doesn't make sense for them to be the title of the Cup Series. I think that's a little too much, especially with the fact that they're not as involved on the track as previous sponsors like Sprint and Nextel and Winston were. And you don't see much of Monster Energy on the track. And it doesn't really make much sense, especially with the fact that with this sponsor that was agreed to was supposed to try to help get younger fans into NASCAR. It hasn't made any difference, and the fact is more people continue to leave NASCAR. And I feel like the 1-year deal to 2019 probably means that they're probably prepared for a new sponsor to come in, as well as possible scheduled realignment that's possibly going to happen. I think that's going to happen as well. And I think they want a fresh sponsor to do it with a possible schedule realignment. That's just my speculation. I'm not sure what I think is official, but what I think is that's probably what's going to happen. And I don't think Monster's going to really resonate with people, just like how Nationwide did with the second tier series, now known as the Xfinity Series. It's not a memorable sponsor. It's not when you think of the Xfinity Series, you don't think of the Nationwide Series. You think of the Busch Series. Or when you think of the Cup Series, you don't unfortunately think of the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. You think of the Winston Cup Series, which a lot of people love, and the Nextel Cup Series, which I love, and the Sprint Cup Series, which was the sponsor of the series for a long time. And that deal went on for 13 years, even though 4 of it was with Nextel and the 9 was the Sprint. But it had a long run with those sponsors, and Monster's not going to be around that long. It goes to show you that NASCAR is going into a different direction. And I personally think when they signed that Busch deal to get them back as the official beer of NASCAR, I feel like they had a wake-up call, in my opinion. And it's a possibility that they're trying to go back to their roots. And I think that deal with Busch being the official beer of NASCAR again, and also the Polo Award again, the sponsor, could probably be that they're trying to go in that direction, and possibly as they're trying to go back to their roots, and that's what got the fans in the first place. Could this be a sign that they're continuing to do that and possibly have a sponsor that fans know about? I don't know what the sponsor will be, but I personally was never a fan of Monster being the title sponsor of the series. Monster just doesn't seem right to be a sponsor of a NASCAR series, in my opinion. Okay, keep it involved in the sport. Like Nationwide, before they became the Nationwide Series, they were still involved in the sport a bit, and they're involved afterwards, as well as sponsoring Alex Bowman at Hendrick Motorsports in the 88 car there. So be like that, and still be involved in the sport. Still try to have like more stuff around the track. Try to have more influence. Probably keep the Monster Energy girls around if they want. Kurt Busch is still going to be sponsored by Monster Energy, but just don't sponsor the series. It's not meant to be sponsoring a NASCAR series. This isn't Supercross. This isn't the X Games where Monster Energy is involved. This is NASCAR. And NASCAR is very known to be a traditionalist sport. Whether that's right or wrong, that's up for debate. But fans traditionally like how NASCAR is like based on like how they had the fans in the first place and go back to the roots. And I can understand that personally, because that's what made NASCAR great in the first place. And I think they tried. Brian Ferris and Mike Hilton tried to be able to get Monster Energy to try to get younger audiences to be involved in NASCAR, and it hasn't worked, unfortunately. So they're trying to go back on that. And the fact that, like I said, it took so long for them to get a deal. The deadline was originally supposed to be for December 31st, but Monster Energy kept asking NASCAR to extend it, and they kept granting it. And they finally did agree on extension, but only 1 year though. So that's not a good sign as far as Monster continuing to sponsor the series, and they're definitely not going to. Which I'm glad personally, because I like Monster, but just not meant to be a sponsor of a NASCAR series. They could still be involved as the official energy drink of NASCAR. That's fine. They could be that. They could continue to sponsor Kurt Busch. They sponsored it before that, so not a problem there. And they could still be involved in the sport, trying to promote their brand in other ways, just not being the sponsor of the series. Unfortunately, I just don't think that's the right move for them to continue to be a sponsor, and I think this is a good move for them to no longer be a sponsor. But the brand needs to continue to be involved in other ways. Like I said, be the official energy drink of NASCAR. Try to still be able to promote the sport in other ways besides being the sponsor of the series, the Cup Series. It's just too big, and Monster Energy does not deserve to be the title sponsor of the series, unfortunately. No offense to the people that run the company, nothing wrong with the drink. It's just that it doesn't deserve to be the sponsor of the Cup Series, and it should be involved in the sport in other ways besides that. In my opinion, I don't know who's going to sponsor this series, but the fact that Busch came back, could they be the sponsor of the Cup Series? I don't think so. My guess is that it'll probably end up sponsoring the second tier series again, but I'm not exactly sure. But based on that becoming the official of NASCAR, I don't know how long Xfinity is going to sponsor the second tier series. But I think Busch is going to end up sponsoring that series, so who knows who's going to sponsor the Cup Series. I don't think Sprint's coming back, or Nextel especially. So definitely not Winston, especially with the banning of the laws and everything on cigarette advertisement. That's not going to happen. So we're going to find out who's going to be a new sponsor, and that probably will come with the new schedule realignment as well. I think there's going to be a ton of changes to the schedule after next year, because I think like 2020 or so, that's when the tracks could be on the schedule, and something like around there, that's when there's going to be a ton of changes to the schedule. I think with the new sponsor of the Cup Series, that could blend in well, and they both could come in together. So we'll see what happens, but this is not good for Monster, though, that they're not going to be the sponsor anymore. But I personally didn't like it, them as a sponsor. Just, it's hard to say, Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. It comes off the tongue a little weirdly. It's just so much better when it's a NASCAR, and then just say the series, like back when it was just a Sprint Cup Series. You don't have to say NASCAR Sprint Cup Series all the time. After that, you could just say Sprint Cup Series, or Nextel Cup Series, or Winston Cup Series. You didn't have to say NASCAR Winston Cup Series, NASCAR Winston Cup every time. But when you do the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, you got to be using NASCAR all the time, unless you just say Monster Energy Series. You don't even use the Cup name anymore. So I think this is a good move that they're not sponsoring it anymore. But not that they can't be involved in the sport. Stay involved in the sport, Monster Energy. The younger audience needs to be able to come back, especially with the unfortunate situations with the tracks not having that many people going, and attendance is going down, and ratings on TV. It's just unfortunate that it's been happening, and also an older audience as well. They're trying to get the younger demographic. So she'll try to get Monster involved, just not as a sponsor of the Cup Series. They can still be involved, just like I said, just like Nationwide. They're no longer sponsored the second tier series, but like I said, they sponsor Bowman and the 88 card for Hensley Motorsports, so they could do that, then Monster could still be involved in the sport. But let's see what happens with that. Can Monster still be involved? Like I said, yeah. But I don't think they're going to need to sponsor the Cup Series anymore. Especially signing 1 year deal. Especially with the fact that they only signed a 2 year deal before. That's not good for Monster, but that's good for NASCAR. Hopefully, they keep doing it right, especially with the Busch deal. That was good. Keep it up, NASCAR. Keep it up, Mike Helton, Brian fans. Do the right thing. Get the fans back involved in the sport. Let's see if they can make the right sponsor of the Cup Series. And let's see what happens with that. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a like. If you are brand new, subscribe. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.